Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. In this session, we are going to talk about another and very important comparison between the root, any and platform. So far we have discussed these provided in values individually, but still I think there are some confusion between the requirement like when to use what. Okay, so to discuss this thing in a proper and in a detailed way, what we will do, we will just have an actual comparison between all these three possible values of provided in. Okay, so my question is like how we are going to do it, because individually we have discussed these things in a very detailed way, right? Now in this session we will just touch base only the main points that you need to keep in your mind while answering the questions in the interviews or in an exam. Okay, so we will just summarize the entire concept of provided in values into few couple of points. Alright, so let's get started. So here you can see firstly I have put one heading that shows the title, that is Angular 19 course by Sharmit. Then we have comparative chart for provided in values root, any and platform. This is for just for the title purpose, like what we are going to learn today, that we are discussing here. Okay, then we have a paragraph which with some pointers. So one by one we will go through these pointers and then we will explain. Let me remove this part first, because otherwise you will get confused again. Okay, yeah, so now we will write and we will discuss each and everything in detailed way. So first thing is, what is root and when root is used and what is the impact of root. So in a very simple way, if someone asks you what is root in provided in value, so you can say that it is a provided in value which is, like you can see here, one instance for the whole app. So if you are utilizing root as a provided in value, then it will create one instance for the whole application. One instance for the whole application. That means a service can be utilized with just one instance for the whole application. That is called root. Now the good thing about root is it is a default value. That means if you are not using any other thing like any platform, so by default it will come with a root. So here you can simply write now, this is the default value for the provided in. Okay, so this is our default value for the provided in. Now we have next thing, that is any, and here it is written one instance per lazy loaded feature. That means this is not for the whole application, this is for per lazy loaded feature. Now what is lazy loaded feature? So suppose if you have implemented a feature that will come into the place with a bit delay, or you can say if there is a functionality related to lazy loading concept, then in that case each lazy loaded feature has its own what we can say its own instance. Okay, so comparatively this is less popular as compared to root. Why? Because by default when you create the service, it automatically creates with a root here. Okay, so in that case you will find root when you initially create the service. Okay, so that is why we can say that it is less popular as compared to root. Then why we use it? We use it only when if we are implementing multiple what we can say multiple lazy loaded feature. Then for each lazy loaded feature we will create one instance and that we will use with any. Now what is the important line that we need to write here? The important line, if there is no lazy loaded feature implemented in the application, then any will act same as root. And this is true, right? Because we all know that it is implementable only when you are using the lazy loaded features. If there is no lazy loaded features in your application, then it will just similarly work as a root. Okay, so sometime in interviews you might be asked with this question like, do we really is there any impact, do we really need a lazy loaded feature for implementing the any? So you have to say yes, it is very important, because if you are not using the lazy loaded features in your application and you are using any, then it will create nothing. It will just act like a root. Why? Because its main feature will come into the place only if you are using the lazy loaded features. Clear? Alright, so now we will move to the next thing, that is platform. Now why we use platform? So platform is a thing that you can see one instance shared across all the Angular application on the page. One instance shared or shared across all the applications on the page. That means if you are creating a multiple application, then in that multiple applications only one instance is needed, and that one instance will be shared across the multiple applications. But here again, one important thing that we need to keep in our mind, that if there is no multiple application in the then in that case, if you are using the platform, so it will work same as root, right? Why? Because root is also a default thing and it will applicable for the entire application. So that is why we are saying that if I write it here, so these are some important lines, that's why I am writing it. So if there is no multiple application, used on one page, then if you are using provided in value as platform, then it will just work as root. Why? Because it need that multiple application, then only it will be useful, right? Otherwise why we use it? So that is the point. Okay, now we have discussed these things technically. Now let's make it simple and use some analogies to understand it. So if we are talking about the root, so make sure that root is something that you can relate with a one water tank per building. Suppose we have multiple buildings in a city, so for per building we have one instance, that whole application means whole building will be using that one water tank on a terrace or somewhere. Okay, so you can relate it. So these examples will help you to understand the concept of what we can say provided in values. Okay, so one instance per building, one instance for the whole application. Second thing is any. Now why do we need any? Any is for one tank per floor. In a building there are multiple floors and each floor have their own instance. That is why we are saying that it is per water tank on per floor, one water tank per floor, and that is the thing that you can relate with one instance per lazy loaded feature. Then we have platform. Platform means one tank for the whole city. Now here we are not talking about the building, here we are talking about the entire city. So if entire city is using one water tank for the water supply, then that scenario you can compare with platform. So one instance share across all Angular apps on the page. Okay, so I think now with these relatable example, this is clear, like why do we use root, any and platform. Now you can see that root is used mostly for the services. Yes, because by default it comes with a root, so people usually go with the root. Use any if you want to create isolated features, as we discussed that per floor one water tank per floor. So in that situation you can use any. Then we have platform for a multiple Angular application. So suppose there are multiple Angular applications, so in that place you can use the platform. Okay, so yeah, these are the all pointers I think which will help you to understand the entire concept of this thing that we can say provided in values. Still, if you have any queries, questions, suggestions related to this session, please feel free to reach out to me through the comment section so that I can try my best to help you out there. So yeah, that's all for today. See you in the next session with new topic. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.